Hi, if you want to help a child with contamination OCD in school, it's really important to first of all understand what OCD actually is. So what is OCD? OCD has got three main components. The first is obsessions, which is the O, and obsessions are just unwanted or intrusive thoughts, really worrying thoughts. Then you've got the C part, which is compulsions, and compulsions are actions that an OCD sufferer needs to do over and over again in order to try and calm the anxiety, but also because they feel that some harm will come to themselves or others if they don't do this type of behaviour. And then you've got the D for the disorder bit, and this is the part really that mainly distinguishes OCD from general anxiety, because there is a lot of similarities between general anxiety and OCD, but it's the disorder bit that makes it different. So what is the disorder part in OCD? It's basically where these worrying thoughts get trapped and they go round and round, almost as if you can imagine a hamster, when they go round in that ball or on a wheel. That is what the disorder, that's how I think of the disorder. It's where these thoughts are going over and over in their head. They don't release like with normal anxiety. And they result then in a child feeling they've got to carry out these bizarre and repetitive and exhausting rituals to try and keep themselves safe and to try and calm their anxiety. So what does OCD look like in the classroom? Well, to most children, it will be totally invisible and non-existent because it's not really existent, but it very much is a real thing for an OCD sufferer. For example, if a child thinks they've got contamination, if they sit by a desk and say a teacher suddenly distracts them and they don't have time to maybe hand sanitize or wipe the surface down or whatever compulsion they do to make themselves feel safe, then they'll go into what you call flight or fight mode, and their anxiety will just shoot up, it'll just spike right up there. And it'll result in such anxiety that often it can result in a child just leaving the classroom altogether. Now, it doesn't just stop there, because let's just suppose the child goes out and they neutralise themselves, these compulsions. What will then happen is OCD will then ramp up its actions, and then it'll make the child believe that anyone who has sat by that desk or been with any close proximity of that desk is also contaminated. And then you're faced with a brand new problem, because not only are you dealing then with one child with OCD, you could be potentially dealing with a child with everyone having OCD due to this child's thoughts, because they will then feel that there's danger by being around any of those people who may have sat by that desk or been near that desk who won't have carried out these compulsions. Because often what an OCD sufferer will do as well, they'll recruit others into their action, because OCD feeds off three things, which I call the 3 Rs. It loves an audience, it loves a reaction, it also loves to recruit others, hence why OCD children will often recruit their friends as well to do these compulsions so that they feel safe around their friends. And it also likes reassurance. It'll just constantly ask and ask and ask for reassurance. So they're 3 things as well that teachers and parents alike need to avoid doing, because you obviously don't want to feed this greedy monster, which is OCD is often referred to as a greedy monster. So what are 7 points that teachers can take away from this video to help children with contamination or any other OCD for that matter? Well, the first one is not to draw any unwanted attention to the OCD. The worst thing that you can do is to bring attention to the OCD, because a lot of OCD sufferers like to keep it private. They feel very embarrassed. They feel like people are going to make fun of them or think they're a freak. So please don't draw any unwanted attention to it. Offer them support and offer them to have a little chat outside of the classroom and outside from where anybody can see them, to have a little chat to maybe understand more about the OCD and to understand exactly what fears they have and how you can help them. The other thing that you can do is to look for any change of behaviour or any change in their anxiety levels. That can be a clue as well. And obviously if they're carrying out compulsions like over hand sanitising their hands. Number 4 would be discreet. I can't stress this enough. There is nothing worse than a child being shouted at and being made fun of by saying, why have you left your books in school again? Or why is your school bag? Or why haven't you taken your art folder home? When a child has got OCD issues, there can be other reasons why they're leaving those school books there. So please don't draw attention to it by saying about it. Just understand that sometimes there are reasons why the child has to leave this stuff there. Which leads me then on to another point, which is to be flexible. Be flexible with your support. I mean, there are very often children who get targeted with contamination and any other OCD for that matter are high achievers. So low school attendance, which can result from OCD, doesn't always equate to low grades. My daughter, for example, who had contamination OCD, she had a very low school attendance, but she still walked away with all A stars and even A's and A stars in her A levels. So just be flexible and offer to support parents, because very often parents know the challenges their child is experiencing and they can actually fill in the gaps at home if they get support from teachers. And finally, offer a safe place for a child to work, because it's far better if a child is avoiding a desk or a certain place because they feel it's contaminated. It's much better for them to go to what they regard as a safe space and work than not turn up for school at all. I'm sure you'd agree. So I would urge you that if you are trying to help a child with contamination OCD, and I'm guessing with the current pandemic there's going to be an awful lot of increase in children with OCD, in particular contamination OCD, please take these points that I've made on board and try to help children as much as you can with contamination and other child OCD. And I say the main point is to be discreet and supportive and flexible in your approach of teaching children with contamination OCD. Alright, hope you've enjoyed the video, and if you've enjoyed the tips I've shared, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any future videos that I post on helping children with contamination OCD. Bye for now.